My beloved child, stop for a moment and do not move past these words, because what is being revealed to you now is connected to a decision that has already begun changing the direction of your life. You may believe nothing is happening. You may look around and see the same room, the same unanswered questions, the same silence from the person whose heart you have tried so hard to understand. But beyond what your eyes can see, something has shifted. A choice has been made in secret. A promise has formed in someone's heart. And somewhere, hidden from your sight, a ring is waiting. Do not skip this message, because the truth is not as simple as someone merely thinking about marriage. This is about a person who has wrestled with fear, timing, family expectations, past disappointment, and the terrifying possibility of losing you forever. They did not arrive at this decision easily. They resisted it. They questioned it. They tried to convince themselves that they needed more time, more certainty, more proof. But every road their mind followed eventually led them back to you. There is a reason you have felt an unusual stirring lately. There is a reason certain memories have returned without warning. There is a reason your heart has felt both hopeful and restless, sometimes within the same hour. You thought you were simply overthinking, but something deeper has been happening. Your spirit has been sensing movement before your circumstances have shown you evidence. You have been picking up the echo of a decision that has not yet been spoken aloud. Someone has decided that they do not want to imagine their future without you. For a long time, this person believed they could control what they felt. They tried to place their emotions into neat little boxes. They told themselves they were being logical. They told themselves that love should not make them this vulnerable. They may have distracted themselves with work, responsibilities, social obligations, or conversations that never reached the depth they experienced with you. Yet in the quiet moments, when there was no audience and no distraction, the truth always returned. It was your face they imagined beside them years from now. It was your voice they wanted to hear after a difficult day. It was your presence they pictured at the table, in the home, during celebrations, and through the uncertain seasons that life brings. But something happened recently that made this person stop postponing what their heart had already chosen. It may have been a conversation, a dream, a moment of jealousy, a family question, or the sudden fear that someone else might recognize your worth before they found the courage to act. Whatever it was, it shook them awake. In one instant, the future no longer felt distant. It felt fragile. It felt as though they could lose the very person they had silently hoped would always remain available. That realization changed everything. They began to understand that waiting is also a decision. Silence is also an answer. And delaying love for too long can turn a beautiful possibility into a permanent regret. This person has carried regrets before, and they do not want you to become another name they whisper to themselves years later, wondering what might have happened if they had been braver. So they made a choice. Not publicly. Not dramatically. Not in the way you might expect. The decision began in a private moment when they finally admitted to themselves, "This is the person I want." Those words changed something inside them. The moment they accepted the truth, the confusion began to quiet. The questions that had followed them for months suddenly lost their power. They no longer asked whether their feelings were real. They began asking how they could build a life worthy of sharing with you. Stay until the end, because there is a detail about the ring that you do not yet know, and it carries an emotional meaning far deeper than its appearance. This ring is not merely an object. It has become a symbol of everything this person has been afraid to say. When they thought about choosing it, their hands trembled. Their heart raced. They imagined placing it before you, and for a moment, the entire world seemed to disappear. They saw your expression. They wondered whether you would cry. They wondered whether you would laugh from disbelief. They wondered whether the pain and uncertainty between you would finally make sense. But then fear entered the room. What if you have changed your mind? What if they waited too long? What if the distance they created made you believe they never cared? What if you say no? This is the battle they are facing now. They are not unsure about wanting you. They are afraid that their hesitation may have cost them the right to ask. You see, my child, there were moments when you needed reassurance and received silence. There were days when you tried to read meaning into small signs because direct truth was not being given to you. You may have wondered whether you were imagining the connection. You may have felt foolish for caring so deeply. You may even have tried to close your heart, telling yourself that if this person truly wanted you, they would have shown it clearly. And you were not wrong for feeling that way. Love should not require you to abandon your dignity. Love should not make you beg for basic honesty. Love should not survive only in hidden thoughts while one person carries all the visible weight. What is meant for you must eventually step out of secrecy and become an action. That is why this decision matters. For the first time, this person is beginning to understand that private feelings are not enough. They cannot build a future with you inside their imagination. They cannot protect the connection by avoiding it. They cannot keep rehearsing promises they are too afraid to speak. Something must be done, and they know it. They have started preparing in ways you may not recognize yet. A financial decision has been reconsidered. A conversation with someone close to them has taken place. A plan they once viewed as impossible is being examined again. They have begun thinking about timing, location, and the words they would use. They have even imagined what they would wear when they finally stand before you and reveal everything. But this is where the mystery deepens. The ring was not chosen only because it was beautiful. There is something about its design, its shape, or the story connected to it that reminded them of you. Perhaps it reflected a detail you once mentioned casually and forgot. Perhaps it carried the kind of simplicity you value. Perhaps it reminded them of a moment when you spoke about love without realizing they were memorizing every word. You may think people forget the little things you say, but this person has remembered more than they ever admitted. They remember what makes you feel safe. They remember the kind of future you once described. They remember what you said you would never accept again. They remember the wounds behind your strength, even when you tried to hide them. And when the ring appeared before them, it did not feel like a random choice. It felt like recognition. Something within them whispered, "This belongs to the person I love." Yet they did not immediately take it. They walked away. They told themselves they needed to think. They tried to be practical. They questioned whether the moment was right. But after leaving, they could not stop seeing it. The image followed them. The thought of someone else buying it created a strange ache in their chest, as if they were watching a future meant for you disappear into another person's hands. So they returned. And when they returned, the person who showed it to them said something unexpected, something that made them believe the timing was not an accident. You are not hearing that part yet, because first you must understand what this decision is healing within them. This person has not always trusted love. Somewhere in their past, affection became connected to disappointment. A promise may have been broken. A relationship may have ended without closure. They may have witnessed a marriage filled with tension, silence, or sacrifice without tenderness. Because of that, part of them learned to associate commitment with danger. They wanted love, but they feared what love could demand. They wanted closeness, but they feared losing control. They wanted you, but wanting you made the future feel real, and reality required courage. That is why their behavior may have appeared inconsistent. One moment they seemed drawn toward you, and the next they became distant. One day their energy felt warm and open, another day they acted as though nothing meaningful existed. You may have blamed yourself for those changes, but many of them were not caused by anything you did. They were the outward signs of an inward struggle. You awakened a part of them that could no longer remain asleep. They were comfortable living without asking the deeper questions. Then you entered their life and made ordinary connections feel empty. You made them realize that being understood is different from merely being known. You made them feel seen in places they had hidden even from themselves. That kind of connection is beautiful, but to someone who has survived by keeping emotional distance, it can also feel overwhelming. So they tested the distance. They tried life without speaking to you as often. They waited to see whether the feelings would fade. They told themselves that time would weaken the bond. But time did the opposite. Every absence made your importance clearer. They said they were not ready, or that they had not found the right person, or that marriage was not on their mind. But inside, your name appeared immediately. And once your name entered that moment, they could not escape the truth. They realized the problem was not that they had not found the right person. The problem was that they had found you and had been too afraid to act. That night, they thought about every moment when you gave them an opening to be honest. They remembered the conversations that could have become confessions. They remembered the times you waited for them to say more. They remembered the softness in your voice before disappointment taught you to become guarded. They understood that you had been patient. Perhaps more patient than they deserved. And for the first time, they did not only fear losing you. They felt responsible for the distance that had grown. This realization brought them to tears. Not because they are weak, but because the truth finally became heavier than the defenses they had built around it. They saw how much love had been offered to them, and how often fear had made them respond with hesitation. In that private moment, they made a promise. They promised that if they were given another opportunity, they would stop hiding behind uncertainty. They would speak. They would choose. They would show you that their silence had never meant absence of feeling. Something huge is waiting for you. But it is not only the proposal itself. The greater revelation is the transformation happening inside the person preparing to make it. They are beginning to understand that marriage is not a perfect ending. It is a sacred beginning. It is not the removal of every challenge. It is the decision to face those challenges beside someone rather than alone. They are no longer dreaming only about the beautiful moment of asking you. They are considering the responsibility of protecting your trust afterward. They know words will not be enough. They know they may need to apologize. They know certain questions must be answered honestly. They know there are wounds that cannot be covered by a ring, no matter how beautiful it is. And this is important, my child. You are not being asked to ignore your discernment simply because someone has finally recognized your value. A proposal does not erase the past. A promise must be supported by maturity, consistency, and truth. Heaven is not revealing this to make you chase anyone. You are not meant to run toward uncertainty, demanding to know whether the ring is yours. You are not meant to force a confession, search through messages, or interpret every silence as proof. What is real must reveal itself with clarity. Your task is not to uncover their plan. Your task is to remain aligned with your worth. There is a difference between preparing your heart and surrendering your boundaries. You can remain open without becoming desperate. You can believe in love without abandoning wisdom. You can welcome a miracle without pretending that every confusing behavior is sacred. The right person will not only desire you privately. They will choose you visibly. And that visible choice is what this person is now preparing to make. But there is an obstacle. Something has delayed the moment. It is not another lover in the way your fear might suggest. It is not a sudden disappearance of feeling. The obstacle is connected to a truth this person believes they must reveal before they can ask for your hand. They know that if they propose without telling you, the foundation will be incomplete. They know the hidden matter could return later and damage the trust they are trying to build. So before the ring reaches you, a confession must come first. The confession reveals that the silence was connected to a responsibility they were carrying, one they feared would make you see them differently. They wanted to resolve it before approaching you. They wanted to appear strong, complete, and ready. But life did not unfold according to their plan, and the longer they waited, the more complicated the truth became. Now they understand that real love cannot begin with a performance of perfection. They must come to you honestly. The ring is waiting, but honesty is standing at the door before it. This person has spoken to someone about you. Not casually. Not as a passing topic. They spoke with a seriousness that changed the atmosphere of the conversation. The person listening could hear something different in their voice. There was no playful uncertainty. There was no attempt to hide behind humor. They said they were thinking about marriage. Then they said your name. The reaction they received was not immediate celebration. There was a pause. A long, thoughtful pause that made your person nervous. Then a question was asked. Are you ready to tell them everything? That question struck their heart because it exposed the one thing they had been trying to avoid. The listener knew about the hidden responsibility. They knew why your person had been delaying. They knew about the ring. And they knew that no future could be built safely until the truth reached you. Your person lowered their eyes. For a moment, they said nothing. Then they admitted that they were afraid you might walk away once you learned what had been concealed. The response they received was firm. If they truly love you, honesty will not destroy what is real. But hiding it might. Those words have remained with them. They are now caught between two powerful fears, the fear of telling you and losing you, and the fear of remaining silent until it becomes too late. But love is pushing them toward courage. They have begun to understand that your heart does not need a flawless person. It needs a truthful one. You do not need a perfect history. You need someone who refuses to make you live inside confusion. That is the change taking place. Their old self would have delayed again. Their old self would have waited for a perfect moment that never came. Their old self would have hidden behind circumstances and hoped you somehow understood. But the person emerging now knows they must step forward. The strange sensations you have felt are connected to this inner turning. There have been moments when you suddenly thought of them with unusual intensity. There have been dreams that felt more vivid than ordinary dreams. There have been repeated symbols, songs, names, or memories that seemed to appear at the exact moment you were trying to let go. Do not become consumed by signs, but understand what they may be reflecting. Your heart has been processing an unfinished chapter. And that chapter is approaching a turning point. You have changed too. The version of you who first met this person may have accepted less clarity. You may have been willing to wait without limits, hoping your loyalty would eventually be rewarded. But the seasons of silence have taught you something powerful. You now know that being chosen should feel different from being kept uncertain. You know that love cannot survive on potential alone. You know that your tenderness is precious and must not be offered endlessly to someone who refuses to handle it with care. This growth is part of why the timing has taken longer than you wanted. You were not only waiting for them to become ready. You were becoming ready to receive love without losing yourself inside it. The ring is waiting for the person you have become. Not the version of you who would say yes simply because you were afraid to lose them. Not the version who would ignore every question because the moment looked beautiful. The ring is waiting for the wiser you, the one who can look into their eyes and ask whether their actions match their promise. This is why the proposal, when it comes, may not unfold like a fantasy. There may be tears before celebration. There may be an honest conversation before the question. There may be trembling voices, unfinished sentences, and a truth that requires compassion. But that does not make the moment less beautiful. It makes it real. Something extraordinary is forming through the honesty both of you have been afraid to face. Your person is beginning to plan how to approach you. They have considered showing up unexpectedly, but they worry it may overwhelm you. They have thought about calling first, but they fear hearing distance in your voice. They have considered sending a message, yet every written sentence seems too small for what they need to say. So they are leaning toward a face-to-face conversation. They want to see your eyes when the truth is spoken. They want you to know they are not hiding behind a screen. They want to answer every question, even the difficult ones. And only after the truth has been fully placed between you will they decide whether it is right to reveal the ring. They do not want to pressure you. They know a ring should never be used to silence your concerns. They want your yes to come from peace, not shock. This awareness is evidence of growth. But there is one more detail. The ring is not currently where you would expect it to be. It is being held by someone else. This person was asked to keep it safe until the confession happened. They were trusted with the secret because your person feared they might lose courage and return the ring. Giving it to someone else was their way of making the decision harder to reverse. The person holding it knows your name. They know part of your story. They know how long this love has been unfolding beneath the surface. And recently, they told your person something that changed the timeline. They said, "You cannot wait much longer." There is a reason they said this. Something has happened in your life, or is about to happen, that may create a new path, a new opportunity, or a new connection. Your person has sensed that you are no longer standing still emotionally. They know your heart is becoming less available to confusion. They can feel that the door they once assumed would remain open is slowly beginning to close. That does not mean you are cold. They will think about the confession. They will consider reaching out. And then something unexpected will occur. A message is going to arrive for them. It will come from the person holding the ring. The message will contain only a few words, but those words will force your person to make an immediate decision. They will no longer be able to hide behind preparation. They will have to choose whether to step forward or risk losing the future they have secretly planned with you. Because the person holding the ring has discovered something about you, your changing heart, and a conversation that may already be bringing someone new closer to your life. And when your person reads those words, the ring will no longer be the only thing waiting. A final opportunity will be waiting too.